Hello, welcome to the Juice Bar. Today we are your servers. I am Rebecca,
I'm Cassie.
and today our special is one that's very near and dear to my heart. We're talking all about Lisa.
Yeah.
Not my favorite, but one of my
Not
absolute
your
favorites.
favorite.
Well, no, Albeda's my favorite. I love him. Don't have him though. But we're still hoping for an Albedo rerun. I'm
Yeah,
gonna get
one
him this
day.
time, second time around,
We're
whenever
waiting.
it happens.
Mhm.
But until then, I do have Lisa, my sexy witch librarian, and kind of my face for this channel, I guess.
Yeah. I am
Just
Beto.
like, yeah. Today we're gonna be deep diving a little bit into Lisa, into her background, and into some concerning kind of rumors that have been
Some interesting
circulating
theories
around the
about like
internet.
her fate.
Right, yeah. They want to get an idea, talk about some of these theories that have been coming up. Want to know, is there any truth to them? Where the theories really came from and why?
Yeah.
And then maybe what does it possibly mean for the future?
Huh.
Okay, so kind of going into Lisa a little bit, there are some theories surrounding her online, and this is kind of what we want to dive into a little bit specifically today. So I don't know how much you've researched, but there have been some theories, some rumors kind of circulating that Lisa probably isn't going to live. Like her character isn't going to necessarily make it through the journey that you as a
Like the
traveler are going to
game
go through.
story.
There's like some interesting reasons as to why. Truthfully, I haven't really looked into what other people have been saying about it. I've kind of just gone and gathered my own thoughts based
Hmm.
on things that you just find specifically in the game with her. So that's me. I don't know what you have gone and looked into yourself.
Yeah, I've kind of researched, like, I kind of came across that theory that she was gonna die, and it had, like, evidence kind of pointing to the reasons why they think that she'd die, and then I decided to, like, research. I went through, like, different character lines about her, and then I read through her
Yeah,
in-game
I did that
stories
as
because I don't
well.
have them, and then I also just looked up some, like, symbolism for, like, different things, like,
Uh-huh.
just in real life, so.
I know I've had some friends that they themselves recently joined Genshin, and already they're talking about some of the theories that they've seen from places like TikTok, which neither of us have,
We're
unfortunately.
geezers.
So that's one place that I haven't seen what the theories
Mhm.
were, but like people are talking about it on there. I think they're also talking about it on Reddit, just other theories.
Yeah.
So while other people talking about it was the reason for starting this video, it's not like we're not really pulling what they are saying
Yeah, we're
into the
using
video,
that
if that
kind
makes
of the
sense.
basis of like how
Yeah,
we got onto this
the
topic, but
idea. I'm I'm sure that some of the things that we bring up have been said before by other
oh,
people.
definitely, because there's only so much in the game right now
Yeah,
about specific characters, because it's such a big game and there's so many characters that are like important to the story.
I guess
Yeah.
the point is on my works cited page, it would only be the game. It wouldn't be
We're
anybody else.
excited.
So let's kind of dive into a little bit of why some of these theories exist in the first place. To do that, I think we should first take a look at Lisa herself. It could be said that she is kind of sporting the dead mom hair from anime,
Yeah.
which is usually a big red flag. The dead
Yeah.
mom hair is notorious for,
Having dead
well, yeah,
moms.
being dead. Lisa's not a mom, but
No.
she does have the hair, and that's kind of a red flag that that character is probably going to die at some point. In theory, that doesn't actually mean anything.
It was like
There's
a
not like a
goofy
whole.
clue. Or is it?
That's not like the. Well, or
You
is
know, it,
it?
it is an anime trope, and like Genshin isn't an anime, obviously, but for a Chinese gaming company, this is probably as
Yeah.
close as it can get to anime.
Everything is leading up to mean something.
Little
Let's actually look at
details.
some of her. Let's look at some of her voice lines and just talk about her in general. I think, considering we're talking about Lisa, Lisa is a good place to start for this discussion.
Hmm.
So, if you take a look at literally the first thing that she says to you, the line that's just under hello, she says, "Hi, darling. Are you going to be Lisa's little helper?" And then, I guess, assuming that you asked her a question, she says, "What, me, a grand mage? That was a long time ago. I'm just a humble librarian now." Already, we're getting the feel that, like, there's more to Lisa than what meets the eye. Obviously, in Mondstadt, she's known as the librarian of the Knights of Favonious. That's kind of what the majority of Mondstadters know her for.
Yeah, it's just like her official title.
She keeps the library, tends to the books, and that's kind of her reputation. Another big part of her reputation is that she's known as being kind of lazy, like, tends to not always be jumping to do everything. You know, she goes around and most often found either asleep, reading a book, having her afternoon tea. You know, she has a very set amount of things that she does, and usually those things don't exactly take a lot of exertion out of her.
Mm-hmm.
Majority of her voice lines, again, are just kind of reinforcing that whole idea of Lisa being lazy, I guess. She is telling you that today is no good for going out. She wants to stay in. When it rains, she says it's the perfect weather for sipping a cup of tea while gazing out the window. Literally nothing strenuous. Yeah, just over and over talking about.
It really emphasizes how lazy she appears.
Yes. And that's the key thing. It's how she appears to others. Whether or not this is actually true is kind of what we're going to get into a little bit more.
Yeah, there's a lot of hints that she's more powerful than she seems. Like, she seems to be very lazy, not one for, like, too much, like, fighting, you know, questing.
Right. There's obviously there's a lot of characters that talk about like other characters. That's just something that is in the voice lines if you look at them. And so a lot of Mondstadters, not all of them, but a lot of them will have a voice line about Lisa, and the majority of them, I would say, are just talking about how Lisa, and she herself is a good person, but again, while she gets the job done, it's like she never goes over and does more than is necessary. She does her jobs well, but she never goes out of her way to do more than what is required of her, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of the voice lines about Lisa from other characters talk about like how lazy she is, but then a lot of them notice that she is more capable than she leads on, that she's like extremely intelligent, and she's just knows what she's doing, and that she's very strong, but she just doesn't use her skill set. Like, I know Albedo's mentioned something like that. Like, he doesn't understand why she's just like a librarian, and then Sucrose mentions that
those were literally the two that I was also going to bring up.
Oh, yeah, Sucrose mentions that like when she's doing her research, like Lisa can understand it and she knows a lot about it despite never having seen it before. And then Sucrose mentions, like, how does she know? Is it an observation or is it a ratiocination? Which is just like a fancy word for like using your own, like using your own knowledge to reason.
Sucrose and Albedo, they're kind of the two that I noticed that maybe they don't have the whole story with Lisa, but they're more observant than the others. It is interesting because both of them are alchemists, so
maybe
it's kind of their
like
job to research.
Those smart, observant people
have to be the ones to look into things a little bit more, but they do find it interesting that, you know, she presents herself as just this librarian, but she knows so much. And is she really okay with just, like, is there a reason why she's forced herself to ultimately, to some, or at least like what it appears to just amount to so little? That is not what she feels, but to others, it seems like a waste of talent. Yeah. So let's kind of go into some of her backstory. I've used Lisa a lot, so I've maxed out all of her friendships. So I have all of her character details.
I only have the first 3 stories and then the heating cauldron one, but
yeah, the heating cauldron doesn't really have much to do with what we're going to be talking about.
I don't use Lisa. I just ascended her for the single wish.
Oh, yeah, she's max ascended for me.
Yeah.
So when you first just get her, every character has just simple character details details.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what it says about her is that she's the librarian of the Knights of Favonious, and she's extremely educated. Said that she went to be a scholar in Sumeru, which is another country that we haven't gotten to
So
yet,
one of the
obviously.
other
I mean,
nations.
yes. Actually, interestingly, in Inazuma, while I was wandering around, there were two kids that you go up to talk to in Inazuma, and they have a little quest for you. And basically, it's a little girl telling a little boy about the other nations, because obviously, as we learn, with all of the decrees in place, you're not really allowed to travel. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Outlanders can't come to Inazuma, but also the people can't leave Inazuma
Yeah, the
very
entire
easily.
nation's on lockdown, basically.
Yes. So, because of that, you have, people like these children who have never seen anything else and want to travel and have to get all of their information secondhand. So, this, anyway, long story short, the reason I brought this all up is because as she's telling this kid about some of the other nations, she does mention Sumeru.
Mm-hmm.
And it does become clear later on. I did a little bit of this quest already, that the stories that she's telling are not necessarily true. Like, it's secondhand information from someone from Shinoznaya, and he was just kind of making up stories for her.
Yeah, I believe
But
that
what
I
she
did do this
says,
quest.
yeah, what she says about Sumeru is that it's covered in grass, and that there's
Mm-hmm.
like a special type of grass that you can plant anywhere and it'll always grow. And don't know about that part being true, but with the mention of the grass, it made me think that Sumeru was probably going to end up being the Dendro
It
nation.
is.
Okay.
So Sumeru is actually so in Genshin's 10-year plan, and in the
Oh
To
boy.
That Story trailer that explains the outline of just the entire story. So the prologue is Mondstadt, the chapter 1 is Liyue, chapter 2 is, obviously Inazuma, and chapter 3, the one after Inazuma, is Sumeru, which
Mhm.
is the land of Dendro, and the god of Sumeru is also the god or goddess, I can't remember which one, but it's the god of wisdom, which is very
Makes
fitting.
sense,
Mm-hmm.
because they have this huge academy. And if you travel in Liyue also, you'll meet a lot of researchers, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them will mention either coming from Sumeru or, like,
Yeah,
reporting
like
back there.
Sumeru scholars.
Yeah. Sumeru, bottom line, is Land of Dendro, coming up after Inazuma. Obviously not anytime soon, because this was
Uh-huh.
just released. But that's where Lisa went to study, and where she was actually considered to be the best student in like 2 centuries. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they say that she is the most powerful student that they have come across in 2 centuries. So
Mm-hmm.
she was very well renowned over there. But for some reason, it says just in her character details that she cut
Or
this. Yeah, she cut it short. She went there for 2 years, and then something happened, and she came back home, and she became the librarian, basically quit her
mm-hmm.
studies.
And it's never really confirmed in game like what happened there, but I came across something that was apparently said by one of the game's like developers, that Lisa sometime in her life, not sure when, says that when she was young she touched a magic book that gave her like immense power, but it also cut her life in half. So she has less time to live, which created like her kind of carefree personality of someone that just wants to like enjoy life, live life, which could be like
It
the
makes
thing that
sense.
made her leave the academy, that she
Yeah,
decided like I don't want to
because if it
spend
had
time
happened
just like,
there,
yeah, like
well, yeah, if it had happened there, or if it had happened in her past, and then as she was doing her research, she was,
mm-hmm,
coming to realize that
yeah.
maybe that wasn't all that life was about.
Yeah,
Like,
like
in her
maybe
pursuit of
studying
knowledge.
is like not the best use of her limited time. Maybe she should just like go and live life and enjoy life with the
Exactly. Drop
bit
out
of
of
time she
college.
has. Yeah,
You
I
only
mean,
live once.
Yeah, if I found out that I was gonna die in like 5 years, I probably wouldn't spend 2 of those years still at school by choice.
True. There could also be some other reasons that we'll get to in a little bit. So going on to her next character story. Character story 1, it really only talks about how she's the librarian. The only time the citizens really see her is when they're like going to check out a book or bringing it back.
When
She
she's
is
hunting
known
them
for
down
being,
for a book.
yeah, she's known for being very strict.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
she will
that's
come
another
after
thing.
you.
Like the voice lines are all either saying she's lazy, she's more than what she seems, or you better not turn your books in late.
Yeah, sounds like she's got a reputation for being scary. Like if you mess up a return date, she will hunt you down and
I
she
mean, yeah.
will make sure that it does not happen again.
No, do you remember like
Librarians,
during the Windbloom Festival when like she was talking with Jean or something and Lisa was just like, "Don't worry, if anything goes wrong, I'll just shock them. Like I'll just electrocute them."
that's right, I forgot
And
about
Jean was
that.
like, "Please don't. Don't electrocute the people."
You gotta do what you gotta do in order to get the result that you want. If that comes in the form of electrocuting the citizens, then they're gonna just have to learn to return their library books on time next time.
Queen behaviors.
Otherwise, when they see her, she's usually just sort of like lying around. They say she's yawning
Drinking
all the
tea.
time, making tea, whatever.
She also
But
apparently just drinks
again,
alcohol too. Eva.
she drinks alcohol?
Yeah, I didn't think she did, but Diona's line about her says that she does drink.
Oh, right.
Like for
Yeah, I saw
real.
that. She drinks that too, then I guess. Maybe she and Beto have more in common than we thought.
Yeah, I mean, she is friends with Kaya. Maybe he's like rubbed off on her. Maybe she started on just
True.
tea, and he was like,
He was like, what
you're
if we
missing
added a
out.
little extra
Yeah.
to your
What if we
team?
used like something in a
But
water?
no matter what she does, it's always done well. That's, again, a big part of her story. So, moving on to character story 2. Again, it's kind of just reinstating that Sumeru Academy says that she was by far their best student in 200 years. So she's definitely accomplished a lot while she was there. And it kind of talks about a little bit of what she looked into and what she researched while she was there. That's not really, that important. She did get into some forbidden knowledge, apparently, but I mean,
As you
it's the
do.
fun stuff.
Harry Potter probably did
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Oh, he did. The amount of times he snuck into the forbidden section of the library.
It's been too long that I've read.
I could literally see Lisa doing that exact same thing.
With like an invisibility cloak.
Sneaking into the library after hours. So that's kind of all that was character story 2. Not much of what we are trying to discuss. Character story 3 does say that when people meet Lisa for the first time, they're like in awe of her. Like she's just a powerful presence, I guess, to be in.
She's strong.
Even though she does come across as lazy after a while. Although I find it interesting that they take note. She often will give jobs that she needs to do to other people, so that literally like the only she has to take care of is the library.
It also says that she does it by negotiating with Kaya, so maybe she does even less work because she just has Kaya find someone else to do the job. She
That's
also
what
calls
it sounds like too.
us her little helper.
True.
We're her little errand boy girl.
Little errand twin.
Yeah. Errand traveler.
So yeah, but again, the only thing that she really trusts herself to do is manage the library and the documentation of all the books. She loves her books. Me too.
Yeah, you are
all
very
right.
fitting for Lisa.
Yeah, I do quite like her. Okay. So let's move on to character story 4. Do you still have 4?
I do not. I
okay.
After that is when I can cut it off.
Okay. Well, this one was pretty long, and it's pretty interesting too. I think it shows, like, again, just how powerful she is and how much she's admired by people around her, even though she does her best to shrug off all that responsibility. So it says that when she first joined the Knights of Favonious, the Grand Master sought to appoint her as the captain of the 8th Company. And like there was this whole thing where somebody else wanted to be the captain,
Yeah.
Taya eventually suggests that the two of them battle it out. And like in the middle of the battle, Lisa just kind of says, "You know what? You should be the captain. I can't do it." And so she stepped down from wanting the position and she went back to the library instead. And this other person, Nymph, was in charge of the captain. But then it interestingly says that for a whole year following, the Grand Master started to receive like a constant stream of referral letters from this person who was now appointed the captain. And the only person ever named in them was Lisa.
Oh.
I really thought that the only person that would suit the role would have been Lisa. But of course, it does say that the Eighth Company would have been far stronger under her lead. But Lisa herself says that to demonstrate such level of power was not only superfluous, so it was all like over the top in her mind. Like she didn't feel like doing it. It also said it would be risky for her in a way that most people could never appreciate. And this is kind of, I guess, the first real instance that we see that it be such power that like she clearly holds a bunch of power, like way more than she lets on.
Yeah, yeah.
But it sounds like that power comes at a cost to her specifically, which is why she doesn't like to show it. And so you kind of start to get this narrative in your head and this like idea that perhaps Lisa, because she has this much power, but because there's like such a cost to using it, that's why she tries to present herself as being so lazy and try to come across as someone who doesn't, want to do anything.
Yeah, to try to give an excuse as to why she can't just use all of her power all the time and stuff.
It does say, of course, that she's confident that she could handle the position. Like, and other people say so too. Like, she definitely would have been a great captain.
She's
but
definitely capable.
She just doesn't want that additional workload. And that extra sentence at the end, it kind of tries to bring it back to like, it's all about her trying to get out of working too much. But I think that it's starting to become clearer that the reason she doesn't want to work so much is because there's something wrong with her and there's something wrong with whatever power she has. And that's the real reason behind her laziness. Well, let's move on to character story number 5. So this one goes back to her days in Sumeru. And it says that she's personally witnessed raving mad scholars in the forests of Sumeru and powerful sages sitting underutilized on advisory councils. And she realized what uninhibited erudition can really do to a person. And I did, in fact, look up what erudition meant because
yeah, I don't know.
I wanted to make sure. Basically, it just is like being able to learn well, I guess, if that makes sense. Which makes sense because Lisa clearly has that skill of knowing a lot. It's stated many times that she just kind of has general knowledge about everything.
Yeah, she's
and,
smart.
Sucrose kind of mentions it too. Like research that she's never even shown Lisa is able to like help her with the core of the issue without ever knowing anything about it. So, but she realized what this knowledge could do to a person. And again, it goes on to say, it seems like such a high price to pay. How much did one have to sacrifice to attain the profoundest knowledge of all? So again, these are just assumptions because nothing's ever confirmed. But to me, it sounds like Lisa clearly at one point in time was really ambitious. Like she was smart and she wanted to gain this vast knowledge, like go out into the world and I guess learn as much as she can. Hence why she goes to Sumeru and all these things. But as she kind of started these studies and as she was getting further along in them, she kind of started to discover that such knowledge came with a price, And maybe this also links back to the book that you said that she touched.
Yeah.
Maybe this was a byproduct of that pursuit of knowledge. She ended up touching a book and it cut her lifespan in half. Makes you think of equivalent
like
exchange.
Talent. Yeah,
Lisa has Edward Elric. So basically, after she realized that you would have to sacrifice a lot to attain this knowledge, she just kind of was taken aback, and it kind of made her rethink all of her goals. And it says that after that, she decided to leave Sumeru. Another thing, a way I think you could take this, like you said before, we were talking about how Lisa may have come to the realization that she didn't want to spend all of her time like learning in college.
Yeah.
Like wanted to spend life the way that she wanted
Kinda
to,
what
knowing
it
that she didn't
is.
have very much of it. So maybe that like sacrifice to attain the profoundest knowledge was literally time. Like
Mhm.
it takes time to learn things, and it takes time to know where to go to learn things and like what to look for. So that's just kind of the thing that we've learned she doesn't really have very much of. So she just kind of gave up on it. She decided it wasn't worth it to
She
her
doesn't
to learn
have,
everything.
yeah, enough time to do what to pursue like the kind of knowledge that she was seeking.
Mm-hmm. And there's one quote in particular that's pretty powerful.
Oh
That
yeah.
it's like it says that it's her quote specifically, like these are her words, and it just says, "Before demanding too many miracles from the gods, first consider if you are willing to pay the price they ask." And I think this has something to do with visions as well, because like I mean, what's the one thing that ordinary citizens are given all the time? Well, not all the time, but given
Very,
specifically from
very
the gods
few
directly.
people.
Yeah, okay.
To be
It's
honest.
it's it's a it's a small minority, but still. What's the one thing that gods are able to grant directly to citizens of Tivat? It's visions.
Mm-hmm.
But also it could just be talking about like anything in general. Like
Yeah,
I
any
mean
kind of
people
exchange.
pray, yeah. People pray to gods all the time to
Yeah.
ask for what they need, whether out of necessity or just out of like their own personal wants and
Yeah,
desires.
like self.
You got to be careful because sometimes the answer is no, but sometimes the answer is yes. But the yes
But
comes with a little bit of an asterisk to it.
yeah, Kiloa's sister, Aluka,
Yeah, Alika.
when like how they can make like any wish, but the
Right.
bigger the wish, the worse like
The
her,
repercussions
yeah,
are
like what she makes you do afterwards.
nothing is free. Everything comes with a price.
Everything
And
has like
in
an
this world,
equivalent
yeah.
price.
And in this world, the gods are obviously there in person and
Yeah,
very willing to extract
but
that
not
price.
not all of them are so kind as
As
the
Venti
first two
and
that we've
Zhongli.
seen.
Yeah,
Venti and
we really got
Zhongli are
spoiled
like
with
the
the two of
kind
them.
souls. Venti literally is just drunk all the time. He eats apples. He sings songs. Zhongli's literally a grandpa. And then you
Just needs some
immediately
money.
meet Ball.
And she's insane. Well, not insane. Well, maybe
Yeah.
insane. She's terrifying
She's
either
scary.
way.
How far did you get in
Yeah,
this?
I talked to Ayaka, and I'm currently about to go and meet Yoimiya for the first time. I have to go and get her help because I did the 3 wishes of Ayaka, and I've gained her trust basically.
Okay. Just
That
like the whole thing with her statue is pretty scary. You know, that she's making that has visions just embedded in it and stuff.
when I saw that, I
So
was like,
sad.
dang, that's hard.
It's
And
like not only do you have your
it was
vision
terrible.
taken away, but you have it put on display, like put into this
Yeah, it's like a
statue of
constant
her.
reminder what you lost.
Uh-huh.
And okay, wait, I don't want to get into this yet, but let's put this on hold because this kind of ties
Yeah.
into the next thing
We'll come back to
that I wanted to
this.
talk about. Yes, important. The last thing is talking about her vision. And I think it is so funny that the reason she got a vision is because she was literally doing research about elemental magic. She thought to herself, man, I really can't do very much without a vision to research. And then one just appears in her hand. Lisa literally
Yeah.
was like, it's going to be hard if I don't have a vision. I could really use one right now. And the vision was just there. Truthfully, I think that is the funniest thing. Like the best way to get a vision, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, but that aside, there's some pretty deep stuff in this part of the story too. She says, or well, not she specifically, but when it's talking about her vision, a vision is a sign from the gods, a sign that you are one of those whom they have chosen to change the world. And then it says, or maybe it's just one of the many hoops that want us to jump through on the path to unearthing the secrets of magecraft. And this is kind of what I was saying, like understanding the elements is essential to understanding magic. And obviously Lisa is a witch. She's magical. And she felt that she needed that vision, and so she got it. Literally just said, I suppose I'll need a vision then. And just like that, she had a vision.
Yeah.
So again, it says like she's got her vision now. And it also doesn't say when she got it. I assume she probably got it sometime in Sumeru, like when she was doing her most in-depth research.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
perhaps. Maybe
It's kind
just
of
that or like
the
after she
timeline's
returned.
weird.
It's yeah, it doesn't specify.
She basically acquired the knowledge that she was looking for, like the knowledge that obviously was not available to her because she didn't have a vision at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But it says that she also sensed the deep secret hidden in the shadows of that knowledge.
Just gonna say, like, based on that, maybe it's possible that she got it during her time at Sumeru Academy, because like maybe like this has something to do with why she left like her research with her
Right.
vision. Maybe
This
she
was like
discovered too
the
much.
thing that kind of instigated that change in how she
Mm-hmm.
felt about acquiring knowledge.
Yeah.
Because it goes on to say in this part about the vision, for whatever reason, the gods gave humans the key to changing everything, but they didn't explain the cost involved.
Mm.
And Lisa grew fearful of the truth. So that kind of starts to sound like it's the beginning of the things that she began to realize.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of, again, what led to her leaving Sumeru.
Yeah.
It literally says the vision that hung from her neck became to her a bottomless pit filled with sweet delights lingering at the back of the mind. What I think is most interesting about this is what we've learned now that we've come to Inazuma, because this wasn't as clear beforehand. But literally, again, these are spoilers, but a huge part of this Inazuma quest is learning about visions. Because of the vision hunt decree, people's visions are being taken away, and
Yeah, like
you
stripped
come to
away.
realize that visions are literally the aspirations of people.
Yeah.
Visions are granted
Like
to a
their
person
ambitions.
when when they are ambition, like when they're ambitious, like when they want something so severely, it's
Mm-hmm.
like the vision is granted to them. And because of that, that vision is like a part of their soul. And so it's so creepy to me because like Ayaka has you go around and like talk to some of the people whose visions have been taken from them, and they just have whole chunks of their memory completely gone because they no longer remember what it was like what they wanted so dearly, like
Yeah, like the
that it's
things
just
that they've
gone. Like they,
cared for are so deeply
like
entwined with their visions that now
it's
that it's
literally
gone,
like
they just don't have
what
them.
motivated them. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have no motivation anymore. Now they just sort of wander around aimlessly. They can't remember
It's
why they
so
want to do
sad.
anything. They're just like empty shells of like a person,
Yeah.
basically. It's terrifying. And I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if maybe Lisa had figured out that that's kind of what visions were.
Yeah,
That
like you
like
have this power, but at the cost of like your ambition if it were to ever be lost, you know?
mm-hmm.
Like now this is you're connected to this vision.
the obviously the vision is meant to help you achieve your goals. So like again for Lisa, her goal was to learn more, to become a mage. She needed magic in order to do that, and so she was granted the ability of Electro, and she was able to study. But it's kind of like realizing that at the same time you have this vision now, but it comes at a huge price because it's like your soul, and the
Yeah,
moment it's
it's kind of
gone,
like time.
what do you do anymore?
Yeah, and it's also ironic that the vision that she received was an Electro vision because, you know,
Yeah.
the Raiden Shogun is the goddess of eternity, which is kind of like
And that
the exact
literally
opposite
eternity,
of
time,
yeah,
the
what
one
Lisa's
thing
kind
Lisa
of
does not
motif
have.
is. It's also interesting that the Raiden Shogun is the goddess of eternity, and yet she is not the original god because of the Archons, only Venti and Zhongli are like the originals 7.
Maybe that's why she's so obsessed.
Yeah, yeah, but like the reason why Paul is so obsessed with like taking away people's visions and like creating this kind of, in my opinion, it's like an artificial eternity that she's trying to make by keeping everything at a standstill, is to preserve like her own life. Like on their official Twitter, when they shared, the art of some of the upcoming characters, the Raiden Shogun included, the quote about her says, "Her Excellency seeks to rid herself of the mundane delusions of the world, but only in an attempt to overcome the cycle of life and death." She
The Raiden
herself is
Shogun
battling.
clearly does not. She
Yeah.
doesn't care about the people at all.
No,
She's got this quest for eternity, but she's literally trampling over
she's
her
got very
own
selfish
subjects in order to do it.
desires. It could
Yeah,
be done out of
she
fear as well. Like, she doesn't want whatever happened to the first Archon to happen to her. We don't know what happened to
and then
them, but
you also, again, these are getting really off track, but you know what happened with Snaznai, like the Cryo Archon is trying to get I forgot what the things that make the gods gods. You know,
the
what are they
Gnosis.
called?
The
Yeah,
Gnosis?
the Gnosis. You know how the Cryo Archon is, she's now currently getting all
Yeah,
the
she's like
Gnosis
stealing
from
every
people. So I wonder
Gnosis.
if maybe the Electro Archon has, heard wind of what happened to
Uh-huh.
Venti and Zhongli and is worried that the same thing is now going to happen
Yeah,
to
like
her.
putting her country on lockdown so that to
This
protect
is her way
herself.
to prevent it. I don't think it's going to happen. Like, it's obviously, I'm assuming the whole quest in Inazuma is probably going to end with her losing her gnosis as well,
Yeah.
just because
Perhaps
that seems to
that
be the
or we
theme.
take it. And
Why would we take
I
it?
don't know, like for protection.
Maybe.
Because we are
But
like the
I
kind of
don't.
like odd. We're like the anomaly in this entire world, you know? Like, we're the one
That's
to
true.
face up against the Fatui. We've lost twice, but third time's a charm. Maybe this time we're gonna give them a run for their money. We're gonna tussle.
Either way, I have a feeling that it won't go down like what
No.
happened with Zhongli. She's not going to go down without a fight. But that was really off track. Going
Yeah.
back to Lisa and her vision,
Lisa. Mm-hmm.
the very last thing that she says
Yeah.
is that when someone interesting comes along, it says that Lisa will pass on to them her understanding on all kinds of matters. And in doing so, perhaps she's secretly hoping that one day someone will come along who has the ability to understand the ultimate truth behind visions. And again, I think this ultimate truth is alluding to the fact that the visions are literally the ambitions of the people, and that without them, you lose a part of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that the person that perhaps Lisa is looking for is the traveler.
Yeah. Because
Because
they do not have a vision.
yeah, they don't have a
So they're
vision,
not
and
tied
yet
down.
they're able to harness the powers of all seven of the archons, all of the elements.
Yeah, all seven of
They
the
are
elements.
they are the avatar.
Not yet, but one day.
We've got 3 of them
In
so
10
far.
years.
In
10
10 years,
years.
woohoo! Can't wait to be 30 playing this game.
Yeah.
Tied down for the rest of my life.
You know, you like pass on your account to your children instead of having them make their own. You're like, when
Carry
I
on my
die.
legacy.
Yeah, you put in
It's
your
your
will,
turn
you're
now.
like your favorite child. Like, I guess,
You
grandchild.
get to carry on my burden.
Yeah. Like, here your collection of characters.
Art them well.
Please take care of them. Get them better artifacts.
Yeah, really. So that was the story of Lisa, and I do want to go back to her voiceovers for just a second. As you ascend her, like every character has voice lines that get unlocked the more that you level them up and the more that you ascend them. And obviously, Lisa's no exception.
I don't
like I
have
mentioned
all of them.
before. Yeah, but I do, because like I mentioned before, she's at max ascension level. I do find it interesting that like all of her voice lines. Okay, so for most people, when you ascend them, they're thankful. They are like, oh heck yeah, I'm getting powerful. I can feel it coursing through my veins.
Yeah, like I've never been this strong before.
Yeah, like you've helped me get to this point, and all this stuff. Lisa is like literally trying to get out of being ascended. Like the very first line when you first ascend her, she's like, surely you don't want me working overtime. That'd be no good. She's like, you don't want me being on your team. You don't want me working this much. I don't want to work this much. You wouldn't make me do that, right? Again, next time you build her, like the second time, she's like, again, trying to get out of it by saying, you should let someone newer do it. Younger people need a chance to grow strong. I've been around the block before. You don't want me on your team hogging up the space of somebody who could do better. The third time you ascend her, she kind of like gives up trying to get out of it as much. She basically just gives you a warning, and it's kind of creepy. She like chuckles and she goes, if I were to recover my full power, who knows what kind of things might happen. And you're just like, excuse me, Lisa?
Ma'am.
What was that?
Ma'am.
What are you
Lisa.
talking about, Lisa?
Yeah.
Again, more to her than meets the eye. Varka obviously knew. He wanted her as his captain.
He is the Grand Master.
He is the Grand Master, and if anybody would know who would make a good, powerful person, it would be him. And then finally you ascend her to her max. And she's literally just like resigned at this point. She says, I've already tried to persuade you in every way possible. Sigh. Have it your way. And then she's like, I can no longer go on pretending. Even a hilly troll would see through the act. And then she finally ends with, so be it. Let me introduce you to the true witch of Purple Rose. And with that line right there, she's basically just like, here I am in my full power. And it's kind of terrifying. Lisa.
Yeah. Very, very powerful.
How powerful are you, Lisa? And I mean, okay, wait. Look for just a second with me.
Yes.
When you use her elemental skill and you hold it down, she literally turns the entire sky purple.
Yeah.
Like, look at the power
sky,
that she has.
turns like black, I think.
It's not even her burst. It's her skill.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the second most powerful thing.
I believe that Razor has like a voice line about that too. Like his voice line about Lisa is like, I'm looking it up. His voice line about Lisa is, Lisa lightning make black sky.
Yeah. Then
she is strong.
She is strong.
She is scary.
Razor knows. He
Razor
sees her.
Well, yeah, because she taught Razor. She's his teacher.
They're both Electro.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny, but also, it's like, okay, Lisa.
Yeah.
You don't have to pop off so much.
Jeez.
Then there's one more thing that we need to talk about. One more person specifically, which is Mona. Talking about Lisa. And I think this voice line in particular kind of brings it all back and really
bringing it back.
Yeah, sheds some light into what's really happening. Because, okay, I do have Mona, but I don't really use her very often.
Yeah, she's not high enough friendship.
I don't use her ever. I don't have any friendship with her, so I don't get
Mona. Yeah.
I just don't have her voice lines about the other characters yet, but obviously you can just find them online. And in this case, talking about Lisa, oh yeah, she is an astronomer. That's important. So she can like read the stars, and so that's how she kind of has insight into characters more than what normal people would know.
Yeah.
She starts out by saying, "A tempest." All right, it's Latin. I will definitely butcher it. Fuji.
I think like
Fuji.
Fuji. I don't know.
It literally means time flies. That's the direct translation. And it's talking about her constellation, because that's the name of her constellation.
Yes.
And it is deriving its name from the hourglass, and that's kind of like one of Lisa's main symbols.
Motifs.
The hourglass. And it stands for both knowledge and time, or rather the trade-off between them. It says, as each grain of sand falls down, a moment of time, of life even, dies for good. To stop the unrelenting flow of sand, one would have to turn the hourglass on its side. But once the sand comes to rest, it remains motionless forever. Maybe it becomes lazy is more accurate than comes to rest in this case. So I think this kind of is exactly what we were saying. Like, something happened to Lisa. She touched a book. Her lifespan has been cut in half.
Yeah.
She realizes that she does not have the time that she used to anymore to do what she wants. So what she decides to do is to, I guess, halt this passage of time as much as possible. But like her life is an hourglass and it's slowly ticking down. Then she literally just did the only thing she could think of to stop it, which was like turn the hourglass on its side. Now she's perceived as lazy, like she never does anything, because that's like the way that she's getting out of spending up all of her time, I guess.
Yeah. Also in like Mona's line, when it says kind of like when the sand falls down, you know, to the bottom, like that piece of life dies for good. This is just, I don't know, me thinking with my small brain. But maybe it's like kind of like as time goes on, like, kind of like the energy is just kind of sapped out of her slowly. Might also play into like why she acts
So
so lazy
like
sometimes.
basically
Hmm.
the more she uses up like
Yeah,
power
like
and the
the
more
more that
she's
she
active, the
does.
faster the time runs out.
Like she has like this immense power, but maybe it's like limited in the sense that she only can
Uh-huh.
use it so much without suffering like these like physical like consequences.
And that's probably why she's so adamant that you don't use her on your team,
Hmm.
because the more you use her, the more you're obviously using her power, and then
Her
the
life.
more time is going to run out
Uh-huh.
quickly.
I might also just be analyzing this too deeply, but if you look at the shape of her constellation, obviously it's an hourglass and it's not
Mm-hmm.
on its side. But
It is.
the top is like smaller than the bottom. I might just be looking too deeply
Oh,
into it.
no, I see it too.
But yeah, if
It's like
you
more time is
yeah, it's
passed.
like the time that she has left is less than how long she's lived. So like this is just random, but like if like let's say like if she were 30, then maybe she only has like 20 years left. That's I don't know how old she is. The name of her constellation is Tempest Fugi. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
Fuji. It looks like Fuji to me, but I
Okay.
didn't take
Which
Latin.
again literally means time flies.
Yeah, but it's highly associated with like a longer phrase that's Tempest Fuji Memento Mori, which altogether
Oh,
means times fly, remember death. Or
yeah.
some people translate it as like, remember that you must die. And it's like a saying that's basically saying that
I've
like live
definitely
your
heard
life to the
memento
fullest.
mori before.
Isn't that the
Yeah.
Markiplier and like Ethan?
Yeah, okay, that's why I've heard it unisonos.
Yeah. I mean, we're making connections that people would understand, now. But, you know, it was a time. But yeah, so that just kind of like goes more into like Lisa might not survive to the end of the game. It's literally saying, remember that you have to die, like, remember you must die. Which is not boding well for her. Went
Yeah.
into some random, like, research on, like, some symbolism from stuff. Like, there's the clear symbolism of just, like,
Good.
so, I mean, there's the obvious, like, thing with, like, hourglasses being, like, you know, time passing, like, aging, death, oncoming.
Running out of time specifically.
Yeah, running out of time. And I decided to look up like I don't know what the term is, but like I like looking up meanings of like flowers and stuff. So I
Oh
was like,
yeah, the
she's very
purple rose.
highly associated with like roses, specifically purple roses, and she's called like the witch of the purple rose and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
basically, purple roses are just like they're associated with like kind of like the basic like wealth and luxury and royalty because the color purple, but it's also associated with just like power and ambition and
Which is what we know she had a
yeah,
lot of at one point.
and also like it's seen as like the mystical rose, like of all the roses this one's like the mystical one, and it just has like more mystery and like magic than some of the other ones because it is
Yeah.
like probably one of the lesser like less common rose colors.
Is it even a natural occurring
I
rose,
don't
or was it just bred into
I'm not even sure.
existence?
That would be good idea. Full
Also, you said that
rose.
it's associated with power and ambition. I would even say Lisa's ambition that got her vision in the
Mm-hmm.
first place could just be summed up by the pursuit of power and knowledge, I guess, but
Yeah,
like
like
knowledge
both.
associated with becoming
Ah.
powerful, if that makes sense. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know why I split up the word like that, but
You know. Okay. It says that
powerful.
there's no true purple roses in the purest sense, but there are like lilac colored ones and like plum or lavender,
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
but there's no
Her
purple.
purple is like purple
It's like
purple.
stark
It's not
purple.
lavender.
It honestly is kind of like up along the edges of like indigo. And then going off the purple flowers, I just decided to look up like different flower meanings, and violets apparently are associated with death, which are obviously not purple roses, but they're purple. That they're highly associated with death and like resurrection. I'm reading the quote from the website. Combining this death symbolism with modesty and maidenhood creates a meaning for Violet of death too soon, which is
I
apparently
would say Lisa
also
is
seen as
definitely
like,
the color violet.
yeah. There's also a link to like Ophelia from Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet,
Oh
because
yeah, she was collecting violets,
yeah,
wasn't
she was
she?
associated with violets, and we know what happened to
Is that
her.
what she was collecting when she died and
I'm
fell off
not
that cliff?
sure. It's been a while since I read it. I don't remember much about Hamlet, but
Me neither.
she died pretty
I know she
young.
died while she was picking flowers because
Maybe they
she
were
just like
violets.
fell off a cliff
Yeah, because it says that she was
into
linked
a
to
swamp.
violets. Yeah, and then last thing that I looked up.
Hmm.
This one's a little silly. I, honestly,
Okay.
it doesn't really have to. It honestly didn't have to do with me looking up about like specifically the Lisa death flags, but more just like I was interested in her as a character because this confused me. But
Okay.
Lisa has a fear of pumpkins.
Oh yeah, that's
And
in her least favorite food. That's what she says. She has
yeah,
pumpkin phobia.
and I just thought it was so random and so silly. And so I was like, what do pumpkins symbolize and stuff? They
I
symbolize
would.
like prosperity, growth, and abundance. And in China, they're seen as a symbol of like good luck, and they're used in like a lot of dishes um, during, I think, like
Well,
New
she's scared
Year's.
of luck.
Symbolizes like
This might
prosperity and stars in many Chinese New Year dishes. And China is apparently
also.
produces the most pumpkins
Oh, I didn't know that.
in the
That's
world
weird to think of for
or
some reason.
something. Yeah.
But no, Cassie, wait. I was just thinking. I know that you were talking about what it symbolized specifically to China, since obviously that's what MiHoYo made. But when I hear pumpkins, obviously I think of the Cinderella story. And to
Yeah.
me, because the whole deal with pumpkins was like it was what Cinderella went to the ball in, and when time ran out for her and the clock
Yeah.
struck midnight, everything that was, you know,
It turned
created
back.
for her, it went back into a pumpkin. So in my opinion, that's kind of more alluding, or at least that would make more sense why she would be so scared of it if it's alluding to like the Cinderella story specifically and the
Yeah.
whole idea that like
It is like
things
a German
returning.
story, isn't it? Or at least a
It
European
is.
one.
And she, yeah, well, it's actually, I think Cinderella was German, maybe. But it is a European story for sure. But I
Yeah.
think that would be a more interesting take and at least
Yeah.
would explain like the whole, it goes back to the whole motif of time running out.
It's basically just symbolizes like kind of like prosperity and fertility and stuff. Also, it says that the Chinese believe pumpkins harness the earth's energy to create the color gold. I don't
I
know.
would
It's
still
just
say that
weird.
they're more orange than gold.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I guess it depends on the pumpkins. Huh. It says that Cinderella is Egyptian and Italian.
Oh,
It's just the version that everyone knows was written by the Grimm
the
brothers.
Brothers Grimm.
Yeah. But there are a lot of instances of like the story from older times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, it says that the earliest variant of the Cinderella story is about a Greek slave girl who marries the king of Egypt. But I guess the classic fairy tale of Cinderella
Is the one from the
is,
Brothers Grimm.
yeah, is the Brothers Grimm
And
version.
the Grimm brothers were German, so maybe that's the connection. Or maybe once again we're looking way too much into this.
Yeah, maybe it
But
turns
that's
out like
isn't
Lisa's
that what deep
fine.
dive is all about? Yeah, really. She doesn't die.
Lisa's fine. She just, I don't know.
But again, isn't that
She's
what
just
deep
actually
dives are all
lazy.
about?
Our
Going
deep
way too
dives.
much into things, reading too much into the story.
Yeah.
I guess
Points.
I'll leave with one last thing that I did notice. You know how they added the voice lines of like what
Mm-hmm.
the characters say when they're in battle with things?
Yeah.
There is one voice line in particular that she says as she's dying, and all it says is, "Looks like I got carried away." And
Mm.
I think that that could possibly be telling of if she does get into her powers and she goes too far, she gets swept up in it all,
Mm.
starts to get carried
Wait.
away. Eventually, she does perish.
Yeah.
Hence, why that's a voice line for
I
when she dies.
suddenly remembered something
Oh, okay.
that I when we initially said that we were gonna do a Lisa discussion, I remember
Mm-hmm.
along with the other things, I looked up symbolism things. I looked up the symbolism for like lanterns.
Oh, right. That's another thing that she has, like the back of her hat.
Mm-hmm. And like obviously it's not the same kind of lantern, but again, I kind of went towards the Chinese symbolism, and it says that they
Yeah.
symbolize like good luck, social status, and what stands out to me is like vitality, so like energy and life. And she has like a lot of like kind of lantern motifs as well, like with her hat, and then there's the rose within the lantern. So I don't know, maybe this is like her tempting
Yeah.
to like
It.
fight back. I don't know.
Yeah. She's using the lanterns as a chance to like
Like this
remain
is her
young or
power though.
remain alive.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, her burst is the. I could actually have one right now that I could just
Yeah,
show
it
off
does
real
make
quick.
sense that like her
There it
lantern is
is.
kind of the source of all her like lightning when in this burst form.
Yeah. Takeaways from this little deep dive. Elisa is strong,
Probably. Yeah,
very, very strong, more
extremely
than she
strong.
likes you to know. And quite possibly she's going to die because of it.
Probably gonna die.
Visions are scary too. They definitely come at a price. And
Hmm.
the moment you get yours taken away, it's kind of game over for you.
Yeah.
Like, at least being mentally sane.
Yeah. Or just having a purpose in
Which,
life. Losing your
yeah,
vision just sends you into like,
despair.
yeah, like a depression. Because literally, like, you lose like the meaning to like y your life. Because like what you were pursuing is gone now. Well,
So I think that you, as a traveler, maybe those will be Lisa's dying words, like telling her what she knows about visions and telling
probably.
you how to.
Or like in a letter or
That's so sad.
something. That's a lot
I
to
don't,
say.
I don't want to think about her dying.
Well, you can hold on.
I love her too much. She doesn't deserve to die. But hopefully that won't be anytime soon. I
Yeah.
am excited to see Sumeru.
Yeah,
And, well,
they
I mean,
she
first, I'm
might come
excited to
into
keep
play.
playing for
Yeah.
Inazuma.
She might come into play more during like Sumeru. Like it's very possible that she'll be more relevant. Kind of like how Beto is
Mm-hmm.
tied to Inazuma, and she like literally wasn't in the story before all of this.
True.
Like her ship was there, but she as a character was just gone. And then they
But
finally
Lisa
added
has
her.
popped up in the story before now.
Yeah, but she's kind
Like,
of
she's
just
helped.
passive. Like they just go to her for information. So it's like maybe once we go to Sumeru, she'll be even more relevant because she knows more about
Yeah.
that firsthand rather than through reading books. Because yeah, a lot of the stuff that we've talked to her about before was just because like she has read every book in the library. She has very vast knowledge of just everything in general. So
You got those book smarts.
yeah, if we need information, she's probably the one that you want to go to first. Yeah, so I think that when certain countries, like nations pop up, like they'll become more relevant. Like obviously like Child's probably gonna return to the story once we get to Shazaya.
Yeah, makes sense.
Kaya's probably gonna pop up whenever they get to that last mystery chapter that's of Conria.
About Anria,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But yeah, otherwise, that's pretty much all that we have for y'all today.
Yeah. Till next
Thank you
time.
for tuning in.
Hmm.
The juice bar is now closed for the night. Sorry we got off on so many rants.
You know, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right. Good night.
Good night. Closing up shop.
Yup.